Hey! All right, we're back. You're listening to America's Voice. My name is Mike, and we've got an interesting guest with us this morning. We have Don Crowley in the studio with me this morning, and he is running for sheriff up in Shannon. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right. Shannon County is probably one of the least populated counties in the state. Am I also correct on that? I think the population in Shannon is very, very low, right?
It is.
Yes. Which means you got some wide open spaces out there.
Yes, sir.
How many deputies are there?
That I know of, there are 4 to include the sheriff.
Okay. So you're currently the chief of police right now for
the City of Winona.
Winona, gotcha. Yes. Okay. So, all right, the premise behind all of our interview discussions are pretty much this. Tell us who you are, where you came from, why you think you're the right guy for the job, and what you're going to do when you get in there.
You want all of that at once, or can I break it up?
You can break it up.
My name's Don Crowley. I'm a graduate of the Alton High School in Oregon County. That's where I came from.
Right.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran.
You were with the paratroopers, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Why do I think I'm the best guy for the job? I'm highly trained in law enforcement. I have a thirst for knowledge, and I've continued my education through law enforcement ever since I left the academy. We're required every 3 years to get 48 hours of continuing education credit, and I exceed that by several hundred hours each year.
Mm-hmm.
Not per 3 years, but each year.
Got it.
So I think that my training, my ability, my leadership abilities make me the best choice or candidate for the job.
Sure. You're chief of police now, right? How long have you been chief in the city?
Just over a year.
Okay. So you've had now you were with Winona, weren't you, in Howell County somewhere?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. So you've had plenty of years of law enforcement behind you.
I've had a few.
Okay. All right. The role of sheriff, in my opinion, is one of the most important roles in the state.
I would agree with that.
Because the role of sheriff means that you are the last bulwark stop against the federal government. The sheriff in a county has almost unlimited authority as the chief law enforcement officer for that county, well above police forces and city police forces and what have you.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Technically, the feds are actually not supposed to operate in your county without you even knowing about it.
That is correct.
They're supposed to get your approval, if I'm not mistaken, and at least have your participation or assistance, correct?
There is a clause that if they believe that you are a close personal friend of who they're looking into or going after, then they do not have to notify you of that if it would impede their investigation.
I got you.
However, the hard and fast rule is that they have to notify you of their presence in your county and what they're doing and who they're looking for.
I got you. My concern with that kind of thing is this NDAA. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yes, sir, I am.
The NDAA, in my opinion, is probably one of the most treasonous actions that we've taken in this nation since the Patriot Act, which was the beginning of the step into tyranny.
Yes, sir.
And, giving the government the ability to start utilizing our military and our intelligence against us, as we now know that they're clearly and openly doing, even in defiance of the Constitution. When they're telling us, and they're not even trying to hide the fact, they're telling us openly that they're monitoring Twitter, that they're monitoring Facebook, that they're monitoring all of our telephone calls, email communications, under the guise of anti-terrorist activity. My biggest concern with that is that they're not really looking for a Muslim terrorist or an extremist. They're looking for Americans.
That is correct.
They're not interested in going after some guy named Muhammad who's going to, get on a plane. They're interested in Bob and Charlie and Steve and Kathy and Cindy. That's who they're really interested in.
Well, my question to that is what defines a terrorist? A guy with
a belligerent act.
A guy.
Now, the question is, what constitutes a belligerent act?
That's right. If a guy with a house full of guns and ammunition who lawfully owns those, is he a terrorist?
Right. And if he refuses to turn them over when he's told to under the United Nations Small Arms Treaty, then it's a belligerent act. That's my concern. And let's be honest, I don't put anything past our federal government.
Well, if it's unconstitutional, our Second Amendment is what guarantees the rest. And our Second Amendment is a constitutional amendment under the Bill of Rights. It's one of the first 10, and those are untouchable.
And they're in order for a reason.
That is correct.
If you don't have the right to speak freely and to protest against our government's policies, then you don't have any rights.
That's right.
And then if you don't have the right to have firearms, which I might add, our founding fathers, everyone hunted back in those days because there wasn't a Walmart to go shopping at. There wasn't a Country Mart to go buy a steak at. So everyone hunted. So it was never construed to be a sporting or a reason for sporting. And, that's one of the things that really bothers me about the NRA is they'll sit there and say, well, we're all about sportsmen. I'm not about sportsmen. That's not why we own firearms.
That's correct.
And
we own firearms. My understanding of it, or at least my philosophy, is that we own firearms to provide for our personal defense against all enemies, to include that of the federal government.
Or the state government.
Any type of tyranny whatsoever.
Thomas Jefferson said it best. The Second Amendment is as a last resort against tyranny in government. That was Thomas Jefferson said that. That's not Mike.
That's right.
So, and he wrote it, or at least a significant portion of it. So when you hear him say that, you know damn well that it wasn't talking about being able to take a squirrel out in the backyard.
I agree.
That's not what that was about.
No, sir.
And anyone who wants to try to blur those lines, in my opinion, I classify under enemy classification.
Sure.
That's just what it comes down to. If you're trying to remove the possession of firearms from the American populace, you have dire and serious, dangerous intention. And, that's really what it comes down to. I don't care whether it's the United Nations or the state or the federal side. The fact that anyone is going to attack our Second Amendment rights means that their intentions are heinous.
I would agree with that.
There's no other reason to disarm the American people other than the fact that you fear them uprising against your wrongful policy. It's a logical, reasoned argument.
Yes, sir. I think that the government used to be so small that they feared the people. Now our government is so large that our people fear it.
Absolutely.
And our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. To keep arms means to be able to keep them with us wherever we are. To bear arms, if you look at the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the first definition when bear is used as a verb is to carry.
Right.
So that is our right to carry. We have a United States right to carry under the Second Amendment.
Sure. Unfortunately, states, different states mandate. There was recently legislation in the federal government to allow concealed carry issued by whatever state to be nationally accepted, much like a driver's license, as an example. And that's something that I think we absolutely have to see happen. I mean, if you're able to carry a gun, in Missouri, then you ought to be able to carry a gun in Indiana or in Kentucky or in New Jersey or in California.
I would agree with that.
However, there were Tea Party members who went to a Tea Party. I read an article about a woman who went to a Tea Party event in New York, and she was from Texas. And she asked one of the police officers there, well, where do we check our gun? Not realizing how stupid a statement that was to a New York police officer. Well, and he said, well, are you carrying one? She said, yeah. He said, put your hands behind your back.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
He disarmed her on the spot and arrested her.
Well, we're fortunate here in the state of Missouri that under the Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Section 23, gives us the right to carry in the state of Missouri. It says that we can keep and bear arms as a citizen of the state of Missouri for our personal defense, the defense of our property, and the defense of others, and it shall not be questioned. That we're required by the Constitution to keep and bear arms to provide for the common defense. If a citizen of the state of Missouri is called into aid of
law enforcement or
for the state's defense, the county's defense, then it shall not be questioned.
Great. Hey, we got to take a break because it's quarter after, and this is capitalism at its best. Somebody's got to pay for this airtime. So this is America's Voice. You're listening to Don Crowley, who's running for sheriff up in Shannon County. And my name is Mike. Our email address is America's Voice with a hyphen in between. It's America's-voice.com. And our telephone numbers are 257-1111 866-554-6636. That's our toll-free number if you've got a question for Don and you'd like to ask him something related to the county that you live in and that he's looking to be a sheriff in. Please make sure it's restricted to something that's rational and logical about the role. I don't want to hear personal complaints and crying. But if you've got a question about where he stands on a specific issue, as long as it's not a specific case, then we'd love to hear from you. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And the toll-free number again is 866-554-6636. We'll be right back.